Good afternoon and welcome to the Kerry Garden Show here on Radio Kerry. I'm Alan Finn and we're back with a new season of the Kerry Garden Show in association with Boyles of Killorglin. And as you can see, this year we're doing it with a difference because we're going to be having all the shows live here on Facebook. Right now, let's go and meet our experts, Trish and Ger. Trish and Ger, it's great to see you again. How are things? Are you well?
Good,
yeah,
good.
Great.
Can't complain.
Good to see you.
And, the weather is good, finally.
It's dry anyway, which is a big thing. We've had a really wet winter, and but we have now come into March, which is the big planning and planting month. It's probably your busiest month, is it?
It is. Like, people get out in the garden in March. I think with the week being good, they want to get out. They've been itching. It's been raining a lot over the winter time, and it's a great time to weed your beds, prepare for vegetables, get your shrubs, kind of look around your garden and see what's needed to be done.
Because there hasn't really been much been able to do, really, Ger, with the last couple of weeks.
No, very little. Except for a little bit of bare root hedging that has gone in over the last couple of months. The soil has just been literally too wet to get in. Yeah. It's a few people are right doing a few pot plants and things like that just to put a bit of colour into the house. But that's been it. It's been a quiet winter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I'd say in the last 12 months, the amount of gardeners in the kingdom has grown exponentially.
Oh, yeah.
So now is a big time for a lot of people to kind of start thinking and planning for the coming months. So what are the first sort of things, guys, that we should probably be thinking about our garden right now?
I suppose like that now out in the garden, as I was saying at the start of the show, you want to kind of go out, you have shrub beds maybe that are there, the weeds are starting to come up in them because it's gone a bit milder and the weather is a bit finer. The weeds will actually come up first before anything else. So if you have a hoe is a great essential garden implement to have in your garden shed, and go out and hoe the weeds when they're fresh. You can also spray if you want to spray as well, and at least that'll stop the weeds coming up then for the rest of the year as well.
You need to be careful, obviously, knowing if there was going to be rain or not.
Yes,
that
exactly.
Kind of comes into
if you were spraying, make sure that you have 4 to 6 hours of dryness afterwards. Yeah. There's a lot of different chemicals that can be used, and we have organic ones as well. Come in, whatever, into the shop and we can show you that. Again, a bit later on, maybe another week or two, it's probably a good idea to mulch the beds. You can mulch it over with a good compost to feed it, or as well then after you're hoeing the weeds, you can mulch it with a landscape bark. Now the bark will actually keep the weeds down for the rest of the year, but you need to put it at say about 1 inch or 2 inches of a thickness of bark on it then as well.
Okay, make sure no light gets through to kind of give them a little bit
exactly.
of anything.
Now you said it, yeah. And like, just be careful then if you've say got rhododendrons, azaleas, just you're putting the right compost up around the base of the plant to feed it. If your rhododendrons have gone a little bit yellow, maybe your soil mightn't be as acidic as it should be, you can feed it then with an iron tonic. A good iron tonic then would be a Marigrow, which is a seaweed based iron tonic, so that'll actually green up the leaf and bring back the pH of the soil then as well,
and that'll actually affect the colour of it as well, won't
exactly
it?
Yeah. So like they would be the main thing, and then I suppose the next show we might be talking about lawns and things like that, but you could edge around the beds then, maybe where the grass is coming up to it. There's lawn edges that can be got. They're simple to use, and it's all these little added touches, and they can make the difference of everything looking so lovely. Great.
Trish's tips is going to be a weekly feature now coming up, so we'll have more from that. Ger, talk to us a bit about the composting and how important that is now at this point.
Yeah. So listen, first of all, with compost, there's a big fear that there's going to be no compost in the country with Bord na Móna shutting down their compost cells. So that's not the case. It's the professional growers that they're not delivering their compost, let's say. So the retail side of it is fine. No problems. You don't have to be hoarding on your compost for the year.
No panic buying like toilet paper. Last year.
We've no issues at all going forward with compost. We'll have loads of it.
Great. So that's the first part. So right. So next up, we've got a few composts here. So
this is the time to start getting your window boxes, your pots, and your beds, getting them ready for the year ahead. If you have your veggie patch, it's important now to start getting your compost and your organic manure into the soil for your veg plants. The more prep you do now, the more rewards you get later on in the year. So with the likes of the G-Up and the farmyard manure, you can be mixing that in with your veggie patch, and when you're planting then your seedlings, we'd recommend a good multi-purpose compost. So the John Ines, and we have Jack's Magic as well in stock. They'd be the best 2 composts that we have in stock. If you want to go peat free, we have a lovely new product here called New Horizon, and it'll do everything. So there's coir, there's added seaweed, and again it's just peat free. So if you want to alleviate.
And that's for shrubs, plants, is that
it's
across
a general
the board?
purpose, so it's across the board. The only thing that it won't do is the likes of your azaleas, your rhododendrons, your camellias. You need
Would they be a bit more sensitive?
They like an acid soil, so an ericaceous compost would be ideal for them.
Okay, and do you have those?
Yeah, we have them all in stock, yeah.
Brilliant, okay. So I see our first few roses here. You love your roses,
I
Trish,
do indeed,
and
yes.
so do so many of our listeners. So talk us about the cutting back, because this was something I remember last year as well too, that people were always afraid to cut back too hard. But roses are very sturdy, aren't they?
They are very sturdy. The only thing is, like with the roses, now is the time of the year to be cutting them back. Usually what they say is cut them back before Patrick's Day.
Okay.
Now this one has kind of been cut back. It's cut down short. So obviously you'll have rose bushes at home now that could be something like this size. Okay. People might just go tip them at the top. No, be brutal. Go right down. Usually what we say is we go 2 to 3 buds from the base. Right? And if you have a bush, you're looking at it, it has to be outward facing. So that means the shoots are facing this way. So it's leaving the centre of it clear.
Okay.
Because you don't want all the branches to be going into the inside. So coming out, so it leaves it nice and clear in the middle. Now when you're cutting it, you can see there now that's been cut across. That's the worst thing to do. So what you need to do is get a nice clean secateurs. There's loads of different on the market. Make sure it's sharp and it's clean, because you don't want to be cutting maybe say something like this that might have a disease, and then you're cutting this straight away, and that'll actually bring the disease one onto the other. So make sure to sterilise your secateurs every time as you're going along. So when you're cutting, cut down there and cut at a slant. Now the idea of cutting at a slant is that when it rains, the rain will flow off instead of into the shoot, because if it's flowing into the shoot, it'll actually rot the shoot. So like that now, again, there's another one there, and you just prune it back. But like that, it's experimental. You can't go wrong with it really.
Okay.
But just make sure to cut it where a shoot is coming out.
So
of.
the angle is important.
The angle
where you
is
cut
important.
It along the stem is important. But how far you go down,
You're talking about 2 to 3 buds. So again, I'm talking about 2 or 3 buds, you're talking where the leaf shoots are. Yeah. So it's 1, 2, and you could even go 3 then as well.
And one thing we have to mention is, of course, that we are on Facebook at the moment. So we're all recording this on video. So if you want to see exactly how Trish is actually cutting back the rose, you can actually watch it on Facebook, and you'll be able to see exactly that. So it's that's great. Okay.
Yeah, and also as well, there might be some dead stems like that.
Right.
So if there is,
to the bottom.
right back down then to the bottom.
Yeah.
And don't leave any stump or anything like that.
Just for the novice gardener, then when you just cut above like if you're cutting it in the winter, and if you cut above a node like that, that's your reward 3 or 4 weeks later. That's the new branch for the year. Yeah.
Already
So that growth is only about 2 weeks old.
Wow.
And again, that'll be all your flower heads will be coming out here for the rest of the year. The other thing is you don't want the roses crossing branches. You want it open kind of in the centre.
Okay.
So any branches that are crossing each other, you prune out as well.
That's what I was saying, like keep the centre of it clear.
Okay.
Again, now if your rose bush is very congested and you feel that there's loads of branches on it, sometimes less is better. So cut out some of them branches then as well. But another thing as well, once the leaves have come on a rose bush, you're actually better off to spray them, because don't wait for the black spot to come on it, don't wait for the green fly to come on it. So if you spray it about every 2 to 3 weeks, once the leaf growth comes out in it, with rose clear. I think Jerry's going to go through the compost that you can put around roses.
Yeah, again, roses, they're very, very hungry. They're the hungriest plant in the plant world. So you need to start with a good base. And again, we're going back to the farmyard manures again. Make sure you get a good, well-rotted horse manure or farmyard manure, and give it a good mulch around the base of them. The other thing with roses is if you feed them once a month religiously with rose food, they'll give you the reward through the year. So religiously, once a month, let's say the start of March, start of April, give them a good feed, and you'll get roses throughout the year, and it'll keep it good and healthy as well. And make sure you use the rose food as well.
So this is the one here in front.
Yeah, so it's the one in the
Okay.
front. Let's say if you use the chicken manure here, it's full of nitrogen, so it just dries on loads and loads of growth and
yeah.
doesn't bring on flowering. What's in there's loads of magnesium and loads of potash in the rose food, so that brings on healthy, good flowers and rewards you for the year.
Now, what if someone wanted to start? Is it a good time to start a rose bed?
Now is the best time to
Is
start.
it the only time to start, really?
It is, because you won't get roses in the summer when you're looking for them.
Okay.
So at the moment we'd have our full selection of roses, from floribundas, hybrids, to David Austin's, which is the traditional English rose that has a beautiful smell, to your climbing roses and your rambling roses. With such a big selection there, it's probably the best selection we've had in roses in years.
Fantastic.
And we envisage that come mid-April, May, we won't have any roses in
None
the
left.
house.
So make sure you get in. We'll have a little. We'll show some of the pictures of the roses.
I suppose
up
another
there
thing as well on roses before we finish, Alan, if a rose has died, say in a bed, and you want to replace it, you can't replace it back in the same spot without taking out all that soil.
Okay, so you need to take out the
you'd
soil.
take out
that
the
was
soil
there.
or else plant in a different spot or whatever, but
Okay.
don't plant a new rose back into the same
And
spot.
same soil.
And just
Yeah.
putting in compost in is not going to work as
No,
well,
you need
because
soil.
the structure of the soil isn't going to be there.
Yeah.
So again, you're back to good soil and good organic matter, like the G-up and the horse manure.
Okay, right, great. Okay, so next up, what are we going to talk about? Some little flowers.
This time of the year, I know it's the first of spring or whatever, but
Yeah.
people think, it's only summertime, we have all these lovely little flowers, but no, we've beautiful flowers in stock now at the moment. We
Trish,
have-
you've always said it every year, all year round. If you
All
come in,
year
you
round.
can find some colour. You can always find colour.
People like doing up a few pots around the house now at the moment, outside your front door. The days kind of might be dull enough, and it's nice to have a lovely bright pot outside the door. So these are primroses. They're fabulous. They'll come every year for you then as well. Again, they'll flower up until about May. Come in all different colours, between the purples, the whites. If you were planting them in a pot, the compost used then, you could use your multi-purpose compost, add in a bit of grit or sand with it. Make sure there's holes in the base of the pot as well, and put a bit of gravel in the bottom of the pot. With the primroses then, if you wanted to, you could put a centrepiece in the middle, whether you put a little conifer or a nice colourful shrub
Give
in
it
the
kind of
middle.
centre point and
Exactly, give it a bit of
work the
height
colour-
in the middle
height, yeah,
and
yeah,
work
yeah.
on it. And beside yourself there, Alan, we've got lovely dianthus, or carnations, people might
Carnations,
know.
beautiful.
And they've a fabulous little scent on them then as well. So they'd be ideal outside the door or on the windowsill that you might be passing by, and you'll get a lovely scent from
And
them.
it's lovely to see them in near full colour.
Oh, yeah,
And,
like we
and
have
there's an
them.
array of colour there
Yeah.
too. They're there,
Yeah.
whites, reds, yellows, pinks, oranges. So there's a good selection of them there.
They're
Fantastic.
lovely.
Yeah, great stuff.
I suppose we can't mention the good old spud.
Well, look, the veggie patch, the veggie gardens, the self-sufficient gardeners out there will definitely be looking to get it. So it's a good time for.
When I was saying that the compost, and there's no fear of compost running out, there is a fear of potatoes running out. So
Okay.
there is a bit of a shortage in them at the moment. If any of our listeners are still looking for earlies, we do have British Queen and we do have Home Guards, and we have loads of them still in stock.
Okay.
And we have a selection of main crop still in stock as well. So
Are
we've
they
got-
the most popular?
the earlies would be the most popular.
Yeah.
So
British
it's
Queen would be a
which
very
would-
popular
yeah,
one.
would be
yeah.
the most popular. Home Guard in after that. So just a few things. It's still a little bit early to be planting your potatoes out. You want the soil to dry up a small bit. If you're getting them into wet soil, they're going to rot inside in the ground. So you can be sprouting away inside in your shade, or if you're only doing a small little veggie patch, you can actually get egg cartons. Put the egg cartons on your windowsill, and you can sprout them on the windowsill
Yeah.
with the eyes up.
That's just to kind of prep them.
Just to prep them and get them ready.
And a lot of people think, should you be sprouting them in the darkness or in the light?
Or in the back of the shade. and
Yeah,
stuff,
or somewhere, so the light would be better. Don't
Okay.
put them in full darkness.
Yeah, so if you're planting an acre of potatoes, if you have a shade with a couple of lights in the side in the shade, or
Glass or
that'd be ideal to get them going.
Okay.
So you'll be looking at mid-March to plant your earlies.
All right.
If the ground is
If
dry
it
enough.
maintains to be dry.
For your main crop, then you can get away with April, May. But as I said, we still have a good selection of them in stock.
Okay, so obviously as the weeks go on, we'll talk more and more about the different things to be planting. But right now, it's the potatoes.
Are the issue, so there is a shortage.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to finish up with our plant of the week, Ger, which is just down here in front of me. I'm just going to move it up here so we can get a better look at it.
Put your nose into there now, Alan, and get the nice sweet smell off it.
Oh wow!
So
okay, I wasn't expecting that.
With Mother's Day coming up next Sunday, that would be definitely the ideal gift to give the mother.
That is a beautiful smell off that. What is that now?
It's called a Daphne. There's many different varieties, but this time of the year, outside the front door in a pot, or if they're in a bed outside the front door, you're going to get that amazing smell. That'll grow to about 4 feet tall, so it's not out of the way.
Massive, yeah.
And it flowers February, March, and into April.
Oh wow!
But the scent of it is kind of like a honeysuckle in a midsummer's day. The smell is that strong.
It's beautiful, yeah. And as the season goes on, then will the leafage stay like that? Like there's a lovely yellow tinge in the end of that.
It's an evergreen plant.
Evergreen plant.
As once as the flower goes off it, it'll remain green for the year.
So you'll still have a nice green kind of plant with a nice yellow kind of tinge on the leaf for the rest of the summer.
With planting this, then you want a well-drained soil.
Okay.
So let's say if you're planting it into a pot, just make sure there's loads of grit in the bottom of it, maybe about 2 to 3 inches, and an acid soil in as well. So your ericaceous compost to plant.
Brilliant. Okay, plant of the week. I like it. We're going to have that every week. Guys, that is pretty much it for our first show. First show on video on Facebook. Thanks a million. It's been great to see. It's great to be back. And we will, of course, be back again next week here on the Kerry Garden Show. So until then, for myself, Ger and Trish, happy gardening.
Thanks a million.